right, welcome,
Yeah.
welcome to Indie Worldwide. I'm your host Anthony, and we have with us today Nakiran, founder of We Care Social. Nakiran, can you explain to us what We Care Social is first off?
Sure. Thanks, Anthony, for having me on the show. What you're doing is incredibly brilliant, and honored to be here on the show. To get started, We Care Social is a social initiative that I created. It is basically to help founders become socially responsible. How do we do it? Very simple. We basically work on behalf of founders to help build free websites for charities all over the world. That's in short. Now, the most common question I get asked is why on behalf of founders? So I've been a founder myself for more than 6 years, and I've been within the startup community, So I've just realized that founders are genuinely nice people, but they just don't have time because all the founders, they're hustling hard to make a living, not only to bring their business to a good stage, but also they've got to earn the bread and butter for the family. So they're always busy, but they're genuinely nice people. They love to do social work, but don't have the time. So that's why this initiative came about, is where the founders just support the initiative, and we work on their behalf. So founders can just work on the business and we work on the behalf. So they'll basically say that they can go to bed in the night saying, We Care Social is working on my behalf. I'm supporting We Care Social. And they're basically doing social good, and the founders become a socially responsible founder.
So the founders are giving you money, and then you're donating your time to these charities, so the charities don't have to pay you any money.
Absolutely. Yeah. To talk about finances, it's entirely optional for founders to join the initiative. If the founders wish to contribute money, then we request $20 per year. So why $20 per year? It's basically, it helps us cover
Mm-hmm.
our costs and to make sure that we do not charge the charities a single penny. So we take care of design, we take care of development, we take care of maintenance. The only money that the charities have to pay is for their domain, which usually is about $10, $15 a year. That's the only cost that charities have to pay.
And is that just so that they own their own domain, or is there a different reason for that?
Pretty much, yeah. It's more
Mm-hmm.
about control. And in case in the future, if they wish to, expand their website to make it more
Mm-hmm.
dynamic, and if they have a in-house team that they've started building, then they can always control the domain. Um, that's sort of the main reason why we request the charities to hold their
What do you mean
domains.
by it's optional for the founders to participate? Do you mean there's some other way that they can help you out for free? Or do you just mean like people don't have to give you money if they don't want to be a supporter?
Absolutely. People don't Founders don't have to give money if they
Mm-hmm.
don't want to. Um, and also another request that I usually make to founders is to actually so this entire social initiative, charity, non-profit,
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about that industry, trust, credibility, sustainability, these are the top three
Mm-hmm.
factors. Um, so when a founder comes on board supporting the initiative, I usually ask founders to follow the progress for anywhere between 3 to 4 months, um, to really understand what we're doing, and also to see if they can really trust us. If they can trust me, if they can trust the initiative, then I request them to make a payment. um, some founders are, they sort of work out of the
Mm-hmm.
savings, and they might not be in a position to contribute, which is absolutely fine. I'm pretty sure we've been in those situations, so there's nothing wrong in a founder not
So it
contributing.
sounds like you're targeting like early stage founders, kind of indie hacker types, as your like donation pool. Why go after the? Is that right? First off, I guess.
Um, Pretty much, yes. It's because that's sort of the community I've been
Mm-hmm.
involved in for the past 4 or 5 years. It's sort of mainly, indie hackers. So yeah, Alan Cortland's done this brilliant job of, bringing all of us together through indie hackers, and now you're doing it through Indie Worldwide, and there are a bunch of other people
Mm-hmm.
doing it. So yes, it's pretty much early stage founders, founders who used to work for other companies, or founders who've had previous exits, or founders who are just quit their jobs and just starting this. Um, why? It's because yeah, that's the industry I've been in. I just know very few founders who have sort of raised the Series
Mm-hmm.
A or Series B. Um, that type of founders, there are very few that I know at the moment. But in the future, we're still working on marketing. Um, Pretty sure we'll get to a stage where we can, appeal to
Mm-hmm.
them as well.
So, is there a reason you haven't gone after like VC firms or these funded startups where $2,000 a month feels like less to them than $20 a month feels like to like the solopreneur types?
That's a very good question. It's so to be very, transparent and open here. It's about um, got a very short runway. So I'm basically doing this full time based on
Mm-hmm.
my savings. So the entire thing about when you start up is that you try and put out a product there. You try to validate it as soon as possible. You try to make your first dollars. Um, the decision making. So when I talk to early stage founders, within, let's say, I reach out them through email or through another
Mm-hmm.
contact of mine, maybe within a day or two they're there happy to make a decision. Whereas with founders who've raised money, so either Series A or seed money. Um, it takes a longer time for them to get back. So for me right now, it's about speed. And early stage startup founders, they're the ones who can make, you know, decision at their
Mm-hmm.
will within a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I just feel like your price point is way too low for this. Like I think like you really gotta. I mean,
Absolutely.
it makes sense for
I,
establishing
I
maybe some
com-
credibility right in the beginning, but now
mhm,
ask for
sure.
more.
No, absolutely. So one of the things that we got to consider is founders come from different
Mm-hmm.
parts of the world. So they come from different parts of the world. One of the key things is their local
Yeah.
cost of living. So for a founder to live in United States or in Europe is expensive. I'm pretty sure you've got quite a lot of founders who travel from Europe to places like Thailand or Indonesia and live, sort of like
Mm-hmm.
nomading, um, because the cost of living is very low. So the place where I come from is Pondicherry. It's a very small town here in south of India. Cost of living's low, and we just I just thought $20 is something which you don't think twice. Um, it doesn't hurt
Mm-hmm.
your pocket, and you're happy to do it. It's almost like when you're walking on the street, when you find a homeless person, when you give them a couple of dollars, it doesn't hurt your pocket, and you just feel it's a nice thing to do, and you're happy to do it. And there's actually a funny story. There's a startup based in US. Um, yeah, so I approached them, and they basically said, "Hey, $20 is too low. I would like to contribute $100." So yeah, I'm not going to say
Mm-hmm.
no to it. And yeah, that's what they've done. And there was another founder who said, "Hey, I've got two companies, so I'd like to contribute $20 from each company. That's $40 in
Are
total."
you set up legally as a charity now?
No. So the reason why I have not done it as a charity is because the
Mm.
Indian laws, because of politics, and the local laws, is basically, if I set up myself as a charity now, I would not be able to accept foreign funds for the next
Mm-hmm.
1 year. Although I'm living here in India, I'm actually a British citizen. So I was born in London. I spent my couple of my early childhood
Mm-hmm.
years in London. So the plan is to maybe set up either a charity or a non-profit in London, but I still haven't done it. just want to, run the initiative for a couple of
Hmm.
more months, and then talk to a specialist about seeing what's the best place to set
Yeah,
it up.
I would get it started early because it can take a while, like up to a year or more. At least in the U.S., which is the only place I've ever helped set up a charity. It took a while.
Interesting.
Um,
Yeah. Also, yeah, because the other revenue channel that I'm potentially considering is through grants from
mhm.
foundations. So again, keeping that in mind, that would also, make me decide, where I would like to um, establish my charity or my
Hmm.
nonprofit.
I think it's going to be really key for unlocking those higher level donations because once you're a tax exempt like place to put money, it becomes super attractive to a lot of people trying to like write money off at the end of the year or whatever. And suddenly it's like becomes
Yeah,
so much cheaper to give you $10,000 at a time or whatever it is.
exactly. There's also, when we had our
Hmm.
monthly meetup last week, there was Vulcan who spoke about from Universally. So he was talking about how there are some organizations which are talking about companies giving 1% of the revenue. That's actually a nice model as well. That's something which I'm considering talking to people. Yeah, so right now the price point isn't I'm not finding it too much of a
Hmm.
pain point. It's more about trying to get this concept in front of the general founders audience, for them to understand. So one of the very common questions I get asked is, hey, what do you mean by working on my
Mm.
behalf? So what do you expect me to do? So that's something which I'm having to explain to founders. And as I explained earlier, it's about founders are busy, but they would like to do something. So hence why they're like, they pay $20 to We Care Social, and we work on
Hmm.
their behalf. So when I explain that, they understand what it means. And also one of the points I would like to, bring up, which I forgot to explain earlier, was you have companies like Google, Microsoft, Tesla, all these big tech companies who are actually doing social good through their own CSR, corporate social responsibility initiatives or voluntary
Hmm.
activities. Um, that raises a question for me, is that why should only the big tech companies do? Why cannot a founder who's running a startup who's making, let's say, $2,000 monthly recurring revenue, why shouldn't a founder like that do it? Or why shouldn't a founder who's just starting a startup, why shouldn't they be able to do it? So that's where we come in and we create that platform for them.
How do you decide, or how do you find the charities that you're going to work with?
Um, Interesting. Believe me or not, finding charities has actually
Mm.
been a challenge. Um, when I say, hey, I build free websites for charities, you would expect a ton of charities to be landing on my inbox. But that actually is not the situation. So, um, most of the charities have websites. Some of them, well, the small to medium scale charities don't have really
Hmm.
good websites. But usually we've basically helped four charities so far. Two of them are based here in India, one of them in Netherlands, another one in London. So the one in Netherlands is actually Jackie Jan's European Foundation, which I was grateful to work with. So all these connections have been through people that I know. So I just say to them, hey, look, do you know any charities who would love to have a new website or their website redeveloped? Out of 10 people I approach, maybe one or two of them actually
Mm.
know. So yeah, it's actually been quite interesting to, get charity. So my target for the first year is every month I want to help two charities. So far we've been on target. We've finished four charities, and I'm actually helping the fifth and the sixth charity build their website. So that's the December quota done. For January, I need to start talking to these charities, getting them on board. Um, and yeah, it's actually been a struggle. So, to all the listeners listening to this podcast, if you personally know any charities that would love a free website, I'm pretty sure Anthony will have my details after this podcast. Feel free to contact me, and I would be grateful to help them
What's
with the
the
website.
best way to get in touch with you right now?
Um, Email. So you can reach me at nakiran.ravindran@gmail.com, or my LinkedIn.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, on my website as well. So that's
I'll put all
wecaresocial.co.
those in the description or the show notes, depending on where you're listening.
Thank you.
Have you thought about adding like a backlink at the bottom of these websites back to We Care Social? I feel like over time that would help you build a decent like SEO footprint if you have all these charities linking back to you, and that should then help other charities find out about the initiative as well.
That's actually a very good point. So that's something which I have not done, and I don't think charities would have a problem doing it. So that's something I'm going to keep it on my to-do list and get it done next week.
Are you like self-sustaining right now on donations, or how far away are you from that?
No, so right now we're sort of self-sustaining on my own
Mm-hmm.
savings. Um, so we have 32 founders who are supporting us through the initiative at the moment. So um, roughly about $600+ we've earned so far. We're still quite a
Mm-hmm.
long way from sustaining ourselves through the revenue we make. But that's a challenge. That's a challenge I like to have and work on towards.
Is it just you right now, or do you have other people working for these charities as well?
Yeah, so I take care of the communications and coming up with the design layouts and sort of, project managing
Mm-hmm.
basically. I have a designer who takes care of designing, and then I have two of my friends who do the website development. So they actually work full time and they just freelance basically doing their
Mm.
after hours at
Are
work.
you full time on this right now?
Yes, absolutely, full time. It's challenging, it's fascinating at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. I think since I'm full time, I'm taking it very seriously. Sort of, concentrating on, giving my 110%. If I was doing part time, I don't think it would be at this level. Doing it full time, it's like this is the only thing I have. So yeah, I'm just putting in the 110%.
Um, do you have like a roadmap for getting to full time on this, or like when does your runway run out? Basically, I guess if you don't get this to a full time level.
That's a good question. So I don't have a definite answer for it. The reason being is I used to run a design agency for 5 years. So I made quite a lot of good contacts. So I have some of my former clients who actually come back asking for more, website work. Um, I also have a friend who's sort of being a intermediary, so he's bringing me in some projects as well. So I do get that extra
Mm.
revenue from, freelancing, building websites. Um, so the runway, let's say, we sort of take out that component completely. I've probably got, I would say, anywhere between 5 to 6 months of runway.
Um, so once you're talking to these charities, what are some of the common questions they ask you or doubts they might have?
So one of the first things they ask is, how are you doing
Mm-hmm.
this for free? And then I explain them about the social initiative where the founders are supporting. They're absolutely grateful. People working in charity have the greatest empathy, and they're just grateful for it. Um, and just the other questions is that, like, so what happens? Will you help us update the content? Will you help us maintain? So I had one or two charities where they said, we did have a website, but then the agency went bankrupt. So we don't have a proper updated website anymore. So that's one of the questions that, how do we trust? How do we make sure that you're going to be in this for the long term? Um, so, so to answer that is, it doesn't matter We Care Social works or doesn't work. Worst case scenario, after 6 months, I have to stop the initiative. It doesn't matter. I will still continue to put in my own time and to make sure that I keep supporting these charities for however long the charities want. Um, because I'm just spending my time and skill set. That's it. It's not costing me a lot of money or a lot of time. So happy to do it. So that's one question, and then the other question they ask is, you know, is that if we want to, add more pages, would you be able to do it? Or, yeah, just questions
Hmm.
like that, and which we're just happy to do. So we sort of run on this very flexible model, where we help them update the content. Um, we also increase the pages. And also regarding the tech stack, so we build all our websites on Webflow. We've been using Webflow for the past 7 years. Um, it's just a God's gift. That's the way I could put Webflow as. It is just simply amazing. Let's say a 7-page website, if it was to take 2 weeks to build, normally with Webflow, it takes a couple of days.
So
That's
you're
it.
normally turning around these charity websites in a few days?
It takes, I'd
Hmm.
say, a week. But usually it actually takes, 3 to 4 weeks. The reason I say that is, from my part, I do the designing. Then I've got to have a
Hmm.
call with them, a demo call. Make those iterations, and then the charities have to give their photos, the content. So going that back and forth, that project management duration takes a couple of weeks, but the actual time spent on building, designing, and developing the website is maximum 3 or 4 days.
Great. So from start to finish, it's about like a 3-week process from the first time you talk to the charity to website live.
Yeah, pretty much.
Where's your current like bottlenecks as far as letting you do this for 100 charities versus 4 a month?
Resources. That's pretty much it. So right now there is me. I've got a designer, and two of my
Hmm.
former friends. So like, people that used to work with me, they're sort of helping with the freelance. So with this setup, I'm able to turn around two charity websites a month. So that's what, 24. So if I was to hit, 100 charities a year, I would need to increase my team to, I'd say, maybe about to 10 members. So I would need some creative designers or a creative director. Yeah, so maybe about 8 to 10 people in, and we'll be able to do 100
How
websites a
much
year.
of a budget would you need per month to make that happen?
Good question. So that I'm just need to quickly calculate it on my right. That's 25,000. Sorry, just 1 second. So divided by, so that's about $4,000 a
Four
month.
thousand
Yeah,
dollars a month. Yeah, I feel like somebody listening here today
yeah.
maybe could do $4,000 a month, and for that you've got 100 charities having free websites per year. That it's hard to get more efficient capital allocated for a charity than that.
That would be, yeah, that would be absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so if anyone's listening, if you're happy to, do some due diligence and you're happy to write that checkbook, I'll be
Or if
more
you've
than
got
happy.
friends in high
Yeah.
places who are looking for a way to offset their taxes this year, we're coming to January. Although I guess maybe it would have to be like directly to the
Absolutely.
charity somehow, since you're not set up as 501(c) or whatever it is in the U.S. or London right now. But maybe
Yeah.
just out of the goodness of your
Yeah.
heart.
So
4,000 isn't that much for a
exactly.
lot of
No,
for a lot of big
that would be
organizations.
true. That would be great. And just to sort of, go back to about this social responsibility. Um it's something new within the startup world. So we've got these normal charities which people give money to make the world a better place. Um we founders, we're still the normal people as well, who love to make changes. And there are quite a lot of socially sustainable startups that are coming up, and I think it's sort of about time. There are companies that come in and actually help startups as well as founders um, make them more socially responsible. So, for instance, again, Volkan from Versoli, he told about the 1%, which is actually something Stripe are doing. So, Stripe have this initiative where they say, for people who are using Stripe, you can sign up to this, and 1% of your transaction, we use it to make this world a better place, which is fantastic. Um, and the sort of the main key component here is that founders are busy. So you got to come up with ideas or solutions which don't take too
Mm-hmm.
much time of founders. I know a couple of people have spoken to me. They're like, "Hey, why don't you, talk to all these startups and ask them to, give their time, maybe 10, 20 hours a year to, maybe take upon one charity and help the charity build a website." I'm like, that's a nice idea. I don't have anything
Mm-hmm.
against it. But again, founders, they're busy people. Startups, they're busy people. They wouldn't mind doing it, but initially to start with, I'm like, I want to do it myself because I'm doing full time. So um, 2 in the morning, the website breaks down. One of the charity founders can give me a call, and I will be there to make sure it goes up live again, because I'm doing this full time. It's my responsibility. So that's how it is. And also to go one step back to the about the $20 we're talking about. Now let's talk about the impact that the founders have with that $20. So um, let's say founder A is giving $20 for this year. So we are helping, let's say, about 24 charities in a year, and we will help them save collectively $25,000. So you can see the impact ratio there. A founder giving $20 and helping save $25,000 worldwide. So that's sort of, the impact that the $20 would have.
Yeah, based on the number you gave before, it's like $4,000 a month for 100 um, charities. That means like $40 a month is enough for one. Basically, it's like that's pretty efficient, like deployment of capital there. I think it would be very hard to find somebody whose time they could donate for like less than just paying you the $20 or whatever. It's like most founders, their time is at such a premium, and you've got a team built in like a low cost of living area where you can do this really efficiently, much more efficiently than pretty much anybody else would be able to do it.
No, exactly. It's also with those, let's say, a founder has $20 and the founder would like to donate to let's say UNICEF. So, donate to UNICEF. So UNICEF is probably going to use that money to, get something for one of the children, which is fantastic, which is great. But we care social we sort of sit one level above charities because we're sort of helping charities. So we just sit when you talk about the organizational structure. So we're sitting that one level above. So what happens is that when founders support We Care Social, we basically helped one of the charities in Chennai. The charity in Chennai actually help animals which are hurt on the streets. They basically help with taking these animals to the hospital, giving them treatment, doing a rehabilitation, and hopefully giving them for
Mm-hmm.
adoption. So that's one. The other charity here in India actually do personalized education for children with HIV, and also for orphanage children. Um, the charity in Netherlands, they actually help provide food for the homeless people. The charity in UK, they are helping black businesses develop their own corporate social responsibility programs. So you get that var- you you get that variance. That $20 is effectively, helping four charities in four different places with four different causes.
Um, what inspired you to stop doing your, or like roll back how much time you're spending on your design agency and move into charity work versus starting like another company or expanding the agency or anything else?
Yeah, so I was running my agency for 5 years. I sort of try to, just like any other agency, I doubt there's any agency in this world that say, hey, I'm happy with the agency model. I don't want to go into product. They're
Mm.
probably lying. Every single agency out there in this world wants to transition to being a product company because the financials work out much better. So I'm again one of them who try to do product. Never really clicked, didn't have the resources, didn't have the time, the money, so it just never really clicked. And then um but I just got
Mm.
burnt out. I'm like, every month I had to keep finding new clients to get money. So it just, that burnout hit me quite hard. And it was at the same time that a client decided to, acquire the agency, acquire sort of like
Mm.
acquihire, which was fantastic for me. So yeah, so the guys were working with me. I was able to secure jobs, and then my mom fell sick. She had stage 4 cancer. Um, so it was sort of perfect for me to come out and just take care of, just be by my mother's side, and take care of her. Um, and my dad works in a government hospital. He's a medical professor. So
Mm.
when I used to go to the research, so it's they call it as a research cancer center. So that's where the cancer patients get treated and everything. So I went there, and I just saw in front of my eyes is people from rural areas. So when a kid is getting treatment for cancer, their parents accompany them, and these are parents who work in rural villages who only get paid by just the days when they work. If they don't work that day, they don't get paid, and they're leaving that to come and stay with their son or daughter who's getting treatment. Um, it sort of hit me pretty hard just to see the amount of inequality, just to see the amount of people that are struggling. And then I was thinking about starting my next product business. Um, and all sort of the ideas, it just didn't have a purpose attached to it whatsoever. It was just for profit. There literally wasn't any purpose. Um, and then I just came across this, idea, just brainstorming, looking through my notes, and I'm like, right, helping charities. Yes, that's what I want to do. Um, I don't mind struggling. You know, if for the next month, if I have to just live off just by
Mm.
eating bread, I don't mind it as long as I'm the true happiness I get is by helping these charities, helping them make an impact to the world. I know that by me helping a charity, that there is someone else in this world that is getting benefited, and that gives me pure joy.
What's your, like, say, 1 year goal for We Care Social? Where would you like to be at a year from now?
Yeah, so I would say 24 charities. I would like to make it 25. 25 is a nice round number. So yeah, so 24 charities, and ideally have 500 founders supporting the
Would
initiative.
that take you to sustainable at that point, where you don't need other money?
Yeah, absolutely. So that would take me to a very good sustainable point. In fact, to a point where we could potentially hire another person.
How about like 5 years from now?
5 years from now, good question. So I would like to have, let's say, 2,500 founders to support the initiative. When I hit that 2,000 or 2,500 founders, we'll be in a very good position. That's when we'll be able to hit that 100 charities per
Mm.
year mark.
At the current model, using the current model of $20 donations monthly.
Exactly. Yeah. It's also that this is sort of a very I'm working in a space where it's actually going to take some education to do. I had to sort of
Mm-hmm.
do some, not lobbying, but just educate founders out there. So when Airbnb first came onto the scene, that's pretty much what they had to do. And now today you have Airbnb for boats, Airbnb for trucks, Airbnb for everything and
Mm-hmm.
anything. People know what Airbnb is. That's it. They don't have to think twice. Um, so yeah, so with this social initiative, there's a lot of education to be done. So it's going to take time. Um, but what it's also going to do is there might be a person in, let's say, Costa Rica, or there might be a person in New Zealand who might come across the model. They're like, I like what We Care Social is doing. I want to do something similar. So it's also encouraging founders to sort of, look into social ventures.
How would you encourage, like, besides giving you a donation, obviously, is a direct way of getting involved, but are there other ways that founders can think about being more giving with their time, or if somebody like you is kind of burnt out on um, their current endeavors, how would you help them get involved in like social works?
Yeah, so if, let's say, one of the founders wants to give their time to, help a charity with their website, I would be more than happy to do it. Or if they would like to, maybe spread the word about founders being socially responsible, so they could maybe, write a post about why they think it's important for founders to be socially responsible and why they're supporting We Care Social. Just, spreading the good word. That would be fantastic.
Was there anything that you hit when you got started on this that you didn't expect, or that was a lot different working with charities versus working with like paying customers?
Yeah, so with charities is they actually have a hard time writing content for the website. Um, they might not have the people to write. Writing website copy is a sort of a different skill set. It's not like, your colloquial
Mm-hmm.
English. So you got to, write it in a way which, makes sense to donors or people, who are interested
Mm-hmm.
in a charity. So that's sort of the challenge which they had. And in fact, in the future, one of the ideas for me is to maybe get a content writer on board and offer these free consultancy services to, charities, saying that, hey, maybe you can change your copy around this, or, think about writing it this way so that it appeals more. So that's what the charities part. With the founders, um, it might sound very straightforward when I
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, I'm working on behalf of founders, but I actually had a very hard time. Um, I was surprised that when I sent emails, people were a bit confused. They were like, "Oh, I don't understand. Oh, Nakiran, is this what you're trying to say? Oh, can you give me more
Mm-hmm.
information?" Um, so yeah, let's say out of every 10 people that I contact, maybe three, four of them come back saying that they don't understand the model. Um, there's that, and I just thought, just doing the social good, just approaching people, might have a very high response rate, and I was absolutely wrong. That is not the case. It's not because people, literally, no founder that I've come across has said, I don't like what you're doing. Everyone's loved the initiative. A couple of them have dropped out saying that they have their own initiatives going on, which is fantastic. A couple of them are busy, so they want to touch base again next year. Um, but the most, yeah, probably, this again is with, talking about this cold email, right? We're talking about when you send 20 emails, you're going to have a very low response rate. So um, I do not take, for me, the minimum is that I want founders to respond back saying, Nakiran, I don't like you. I don't like what you're doing. Don't disturb me. That's absolutely fine by me. I want the answer. I just want an answer, whether it's a yes or no. So I remember messaging this founder who I came to know through a mutual friend. Um, I had to message him 4 times, and he replied me. I didn't even expect him to reply back, and he replied back on a Saturday. That's when I realized is that there are founders who deal with important emails during weekdays and emails which are not important during the weekends. It actually happened a couple of times with a few founders. So yeah, I'm just persistent. I just say, hey, follow back, follow up, follow up, follow up, and finally they'll give an answer. Most times it's been positive. Um, when I follow up the second time, they're like, hey, Nakiran, thanks for following up. It's a great initiative what you're doing. Yes, I'd like to support.
It really sounds to me like what you're lacking right now is like leverage on your time and like on your outreach. Because the same way that you can leverage like capital really efficiently with the team you have, um, I think you can leverage much better your outreach. Like the same amount of like effort and persistence you put into these $20 per month transactions, you could be putting into like a $2,000 per month um, commitment. And I feel it sounds to me like it'd be almost the same level of effort in order to get that. Just create a list of
Yeah,
like
so true.
corporations, right? Like find their head of PR, or their head of like social good or whatever, and just say like, hey, we're using money really efficiently. Like for not that much money per month, you could be helping several different charities every month. We'll send you a report at each month or whatever, so you can see where your money went. And with 3 or 4 phone calls, the same as you're spending on these like $20 per month donations, you can land like $1,000 or $2,000 per month donor. If I were doing it personally, what I would do is start by reaching out to like VC funds and say like, hey, we have this way where your companies that you invest in can get this like can do social good in a really effective way. Like, would you introduce us to them? With also the kind of side motivation of maybe this VC firm will also become a donor or something, because they're all about just allocating money to right, to companies, but also maybe to social good things as well, to charities. They're not operators. They're busy, but they're focused on allocating capital, and you are a really efficient way to allocate capital. So it should be a good fit, I think, for someone in that mindset. And you only need $4,000
No,
a month to do 100
jo-
charities a year. Like,
no, absolutely. I completely agree with you. So, founders wear different hats. They're comfortable wearing some hats, and some hats they're very just don't know how to do it, sort of thing. So for me, is I'm good with project management, communications, business models, design. One of the hats which I struggle wearing is that marketing and sales. Um, and marketing sales is, you know, basically it's make or break for any founder, any startup. And it's the same in my situation as well. So um, this is something which I'm still learning. Making those contacts, and it's actually a very good point you talk about VC. So, we could easily approach, let's say, a seed based startup. They'll be willing to, maybe just give even $20. But once they see the credibility of the work that we do, and I could possibly ask them, hey, can you please introduce us to some of the VCs or the angel investors that are supporting you? Um, you know, um, this is basically talk numbers. This is where we are, this is how much we need, and this is how much impact we can create. And the only way we see that doing within the startup industry is through approaching angel investors and VCs or Series A
and you
startups.
already have a whole bunch of founders working with you, and surely they know people as well. You can say, hey, you're doing $20 a month. That's awesome. We love you. You can help us like scale this even more if you know anybody like you could introduce us to, leverage the existing network that you've already built.
Yeah, totally. So for me, in my point of view, I feel that it might be a bit too soon, because it's only been a couple of months since we started We Care Social. We've only done 4 charities. I want to get to a point where maybe I've done 8 or 10 charities, and also to show them how the operations is very efficient, how we're turning around 2 charities per per month, and how much money we're saving. So again, once they see the credibility, the trust, they're like, Nakiran is a rock star. I like what he's doing with We Care Social, and yes, I can bet on Nakiran, and go and talk to my
I think that's
investors.
like a self-imposed restriction that you don't need. You don't need. You've already launched one, at least, right, or two already, and you're working with four total. I think that's enough to show like, hey, we're legit. We're not fly by night or whatever. Um, and you also have the credibility of, hey, I did this for 6 years for profit. Now I'm doing it for charities. And I think you already have the credibility you need to like get the ball rolling. And then if you're like if you're in the process of talking to me, I'm a big donor, and it's probably maybe it takes like a couple weeks to close, and within that time you've like, hey, we've launched another charity. Like every time you launch one, like it's a follow up email. It's like, hey, we launched another one. We did another website. I'd like to be doing this even faster with your help or whatever. I think the fact that you're early can be a selling point in a lot of ways because it allows them to be like signal that they're forward thinking and that they're willing to jump on stuff early in order to help it take off. Um, so I think it's all just the way you position yourself and kind of the attitude you come to it with. It seems like it's all self-imposed blockers right now, and we need to get you in front of some like people with check writing ability.
No, true, and again, going to the point about not, you know, being new to wearing
Mm,
that sort of the sales and marketing hat, right? So it's almost like, oh, is this too early, or am I not providing enough value? It's those self-doubt, those self-questions that
yeah.
I start asking myself. Um, and yeah, sometimes it's just that, hey, just ask. If they say no, it's a no. If they say yes, jackpot.
Yeah, and like even cold emails, the fact that you're doing something good, I think warms the email up a bit. And then if you reach out now, then it gives you the opportunity to be following up because maybe 9 out of 10 aren't going to get back to you. But if you're like a month later said, and like, hey, I reached out to you a month later. I get that you're busy. These are the 4 charities that we helped this month. You can check them out. Just the fact that you're still around and they can see that you're doing stuff makes you more credible. And you get that credibility by like investing early, by reaching out, by investing your time early and saying like, hey, look at me. And then 4 months later, you can say, we're still here. We're still doing stuff. And you get that benefit from reaching out now.
Yeah. It's also an interesting point you talk about, when the sales cycle is slightly
Mm-hmm.
longer, but using that sales cycle to my advantage of saying, hey, since the last time we spoke, we've managed to ship another website for another charity. We've also signed on 2 charities, So yeah, during that sales process, just to show that progress, that itself can be an extremely a very advantage
I think
point.
another way you could do the same thing, maybe even more effectively, would be to use the top of your like charity funnel. So like as another way to encourage people to invest, not to invest, but to like invest in you to give you money. To say like since last time we've reached out, like these 4 charities have approached us. Your money will go directly towards getting these websites live. Like having it be even more tangible so that they know like, oh, our money's gonna this month is gonna go to exactly these 4 charities. I think would be another way to kind of push people over the edge to say, yeah, yeah, let's get that money out there. Let's get these projects rolling.
That's quite interesting. So it's just basically saying a startup providing us X amount of money, and yeah, just saying that, hey, look, with this money we would be able to help 3 charities, four
Mm-hmm.
charities. It's it's almost similar to there's a couple of concepts that have been coming up. It's called plant my
Mm.
trees, where founders just pay. They can pay, I think it's $3-4 for a tree, and they can plant however many trees they wish to. Um, and these websites actually say where the trees are being planted. So yeah, that's interesting. And again, it goes to your very first question: is that why target early stage founders and not late stage founders? Um, it changes the dynamics, it changes the numbers game, and it puts me in a more challenging position. But it's great. It's a way to reach the goal even
Hmm.
quicker and more
I would
efficiently as
say
well.
like don't tell the like you can still take the money of all the like $20 per month founders, but you can't really afford to to be doing sales on for those $20 per month donations. That's more of like where your marketing money goes, right? It's like you write about what you're doing, you post on Indie Hackers, on Hacker News or wherever, people see it and they come to you and like, oh, easy, $20 per month. Um, but you can't really afford to be selling these people one on one. It has to be more of like a passive sales funnel where they just find out about you through your content and then your website closes the deal and it's $20 a month. They don't really need to talk to you one on one in order to make that decision. Like your sales copy on your website and your content should already be enough to close that deal.
Yeah, absolutely true. And that's the place where I would like to get myself to. It's i- Website copy and sales copy. I think um, founders take it very lightly. It's only when they start doing it, do they start realizing how important that website copy or sales
Mm.
copy is. It can it can work magic when you've got the perfect copy. It can work magic. And my website copy, my sales copy, I've been tweaking it more than 10, 15 times every day. I
Mm-hmm.
look at it every day. I'm like, right, how can I make this better? How can I make this better? It's almost a task always in progress, and it's never done. Um, and yeah, so it's about creating that inbound traffic. That's sort of the marketing strategy that needs to be I need to start working on as well. um yeah, something to focus on sooner
I
than
think
later.
another benefit of um, telling the like bigger companies exactly where their money is going is that they're looking for like PR opportunities and like content marketing opportunities. And it's much easier for them to write an article around like we helped these four charities in Africa or in India or in the Netherlands or wherever than like we just like donated this money to a black box. So I think by having like ongoing communication, whereas like this is exactly where your money went, this is the charities you supported, would then also help your marketing efforts because now you've got given these companies like a ripe opportunity, pretty much a pre-written article that they could post on their blog or put out on social media or wherever, and then that hopefully drives people back to you. The smaller donations that will convert automatically, and also hopefully start the sales cycle on some of these like bigger companies as well that want to leverage their money better.
Yeah, completely agree. And I don't think anyone would disagree or have an issue with companies using that as a good PR. They're doing social good, so they have every right to write about a piece on their website or to their social media saying this is what we're doing. So um, it also helps companies being a socially responsible company.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't bring a big benefit, in my honest opinion, but it's just a nice thing
Mm.
to do. That's it. I just feel we're sort of living in this too much of a materialistic world and a more of a greedy world where people are like, oh, what benefit does that bring me? What benefit does that bring me? Hey, there are a few times in this world when you don't have to look for benefit. It's just do the nice thing. That's it. So yeah, doing companies using PR, using this as for their PR, that would be fantastic.
And I love what you're doing here. I feel like with just a few tweaks to where your time goes, it could be probably 1,000 times bigger, 100 to 1,000 times bigger than it is right now.
Absolutely, and I think these are what you're talking about was that self-imposed
Mm.
restrictions, um, feeling comfortable within a specific zone. Um, as a founder, I still got a long way to go. So I need to get out of my uncomfortable, get out of my comfortable zone and start, looking for these new ways of making it efficient. Um, but yeah, that's the plan. A few major changes, and we'll be there.
Give us your email again for anybody who wants to donate or who might know somebody who can write some of these big checks.
Yeah, sure. So it's nakiran.ravindran@gmail.com. So I'll just spell it out. So it's NAKKEERAN dot Ravindran. So that's RAVEENDRAN. It's a typical Indian name. We've got a long name. Yeah.
Awesome. And any closing words for us? Any things you want to put in our heads before we go?
Yeah. So yeah, I just love to thank you, Anthony, for this wonderful opportunity. And what you're doing with Indie Worldwide is bringing founders together to interact with each other. What you're doing with Founders Club was just absolutely amazing. Uh, I just want you to keep going with Indie Worldwide for as long as you can. Um, if you want to give it a stop, give it off to me. I don't mind doing it. But yeah, no, you know what? Thank you for the opportunity. It's been an absolute pleasure. And hopefully in a couple of months we can touch base and I can show you the progress that we make with We Care Social. And maybe you might be in a position one day to write that big check for me.
I hope so. And I hope we can get you some of these, get a pipeline set up with some of these bigger donors. Maybe after this call, we can talk pipelines. So yeah, check out wecaresocial.co. Man, thanks so much. I'll see you at Founders Club.
Thank you, Anthony.